Headlines most affecting Chilliwack this week. Flags are at half-mast for the late MP Chuck Strahl. $250 million to replace the Bradley Centre. Harrison by-election candidates are locked in, and the Huskers are not really that consistent. Alex Eriksson will have more in sports. Our guest this week includes Sarah Brown and an update on the Othello Tunnels, and continuing our summer video series with updates from our two MLAs. All right, Chilliwack, let's get started. Former Chilliwack MP with the Conservatives and with Reform, Chuck Strahl, lost his battle with cancer. He passed away on August the 13th. His son and the current MP, Mark Strahl, posted an obituary. Now, Chuck Strahl was elected as a federal member of parliament in 6 consecutive elections. He served the people of Chilliwack and the surrounding area for 18 years. He was a gifted communicator and a leader, served in a variety of prominent positions, and appointed to cabinet in 2006, where he served in the roles of Minister of Agriculture, Minister of Indian and Northern Affairs, and Minister of Transport until his retirement from politics in 2011. Services are on Friday at Chilliwack Alliance Church. On Monday, a big provincial announcement to replace the aging Bradley Long-Term Care Centre at Chilliwack Hospital. Now, $274 million, and this will be built across the street from Chilliwack General Hospital. chillTV was there for the announcement, featuring the Health Minister, Adrian Dix, along with MLAs Kelli, Paddon, and Dan Coulter, as well as Chilliwack Mayor Ken Popoff. Take a look.
So good to be in Chilliwack today and talking about a subject that I have and really everybody here has great passion for, which is improving long-term care in BC. There had been a failure to build long-term care with a growing population and an aging population. In the 10 years before I became Minister of Health, the previous government spent $17 million on long-term care capital. Remember that number, $17 million over 10 years. That's 3 beds a year. But we have to fundamentally build more beds. And that's what I'm announcing today. I'm excited to share that the news that people living in Chilliwack and surrounding areas will have greater access to care closer to home, as we've approved a business plan to build a new 200-bed long-term care home right here in Chilliwack. The new 5-story facility will be built in the 9,000 block of Mary Street. It will bring 110 net new beds to the region and will replace the 90 beds here at the Bradley Centre, which was built in 1971 and opened in 1973. The centre will provide person-centered care and culturally safe care that respects patients' needs and preferences. The home will have a modern environment and state-of-the-art technologies that improve infection control and pandemic resilience for residents and staff. It will be designed in households, each accommodating 12 to 13 residents, with every resident having a private room and bathroom and additional family gathering spaces. It will also include social and recreational spaces typical of a home, such as living rooms and dining rooms, activity areas, and access to outdoor spaces.
And again, a major announcement for Chilliwack General Hospital. Provincial and local school dignitaries were gathered at A.D. Rundle Middle School to announce a major expansion for that school through provincial funding. It'll be $18 million of an expansion featuring 12 new classrooms, increasing student population to 750. Right now, current capacity is 450. Now, Chilliwack school population has been increasing by over 2% every year for the past 7 years. This expansion was needed. Now, note the original building, that was built in 1966. It's a prefab addition. It'll be at the back of the school, and it will not decrease parking. As of last Friday, nominations closed for the upcoming by-election in Harrison to elect a mayor and 1 councillor for the balance of the current term, which will end in the fall of 26. Now for mayor, it's former councillor and one-time mayor John Allen, Greg Dykstra, and Fred Talon. For councillor, Teresa Omelas, Mark Schweinbenz, Gary Webster, and former mayor Ed Wood. Now advance voting is September the 11th. The general voting day is September 21st. Last week, a longtime devoted member and training captain with Cultus Lake Fire, Shane Taylor, suffered a horrific accident on an e-scooter. He's in critical condition with multiple skull fractures, brain injury, and he may have a serious spinal injury as well. So he's got a long road ahead. A GoFundMe page has been set up to cover medical costs. Coming up, Kelli Paddon, MLA Chilliwack-Kent, with an update on education. Dan Coulter, our MLA from Chilliwack, with a message on the recently announced Highway 1 expansion plan.
Hi, I'm Kelli Paddon, your MLA for Chilliwack-Kent. Today's question comes from Trina, and she's asking, how are we keeping up with the huge growth in Chilliwack for our students? Now, the K-12 system in Chilliwack is fantastic. We have some of the most incredible teachers here, and of course, our amazing students. That's why I am so thrilled to share that our province has invested over $200 million in making sure that we are growing our seats. That means over 3,000 new student seats, permanent seats, have been added since 2020. Maybe you've been seeing what's going on at Sardis Secondary with a huge expansion, hundreds of new seats coming for students. These are permanent places. Also, maybe you've driven by GW Graham and seen the beautiful extension that's already been completed. We have elementary schools like Stitos, a new elementary school announced for Eastern Hillsides. We are making investments in students and learning environments here in Chilliwack because we know how important it is. I came up through the education system here in Chilliwack-Kent, and I can say that I have so many fantastic memories, some of them on the playground, which means that I am especially excited that we have provided funding for inclusive, accessible playgrounds here in Chilliwack at schools. Now, this means everybody's included, and that is the key to a positive and inclusive education. Thanks so much for your question, Trina. There's so much going on to support the growth here in Chilliwack, and our K-12 education system is absolutely a critical piece of what we're investing in. If you have a question for me, please send it in, and maybe the answer to your question will be featured in the next video.
Hey folks, we all know that the Fraser Valley is one of the fastest growing regions in British Columbia, and we all know the stress that that puts on Highway 1. So we recently made an important announcement talking about the expansion of the highway in between Mount Lehman Road and the Sumas exit, which is coming all the way to Chilliwack eventually. I'm very excited about this project. It's not just adding an extra lane on the highway, but it's also adding a bus on shoulder lane, making transit a much more viable option for folks traveling up and down the valley and into Vancouver, as well as we'll have a multi-use pathway that's parallel with this project that will make it much easier for folks to bike up and down and through their community. Your BC government is working hard for you. Stay tuned as I give you more updates this summer.
The Canada Energy Regulator has received an application from West Coast Energy for approval to construct and operate the Sunrise Expansion Program. This involves building about 137 kilometers of 42-inch diameter natural gas pipeline in 11 pipeline looping segments in BC. This extends southwest from Chetwynd through Rosedale and then onto the Canada-U.S. border near Sumas. The regulator is asking for public input. That can be found through the federal website. There have been plenty of stories on social media posts about the Royal Hotel. One thing's for certain, it's on the market. chillTV did learn that the previous owner was in the throes of financial distress. Now, a big note from Heritage Chilliwack. It is listed on the Heritage Interest Inventory, but it's not designated. Rod Friesen and Associates are listing the property at just under $5.1 million, and this is all pending court proceedings. The 116-year-old hotel includes 27 rooms, as well as the Tokyo Japanese Grill and Whiskey Richards Lounge. After a summer of conflicting reports on its opening, two of the Othello Tunnels finally opened. The first two tunnels from the parking lot are available to you. Sarah Brown with Advantage Hope will join us in a moment with an update on what is and what is not open. And a major change at the top for Ann Davis, and Patty McAhonick has left her position as executive director for the Ann Davis Transition Society in Chilliwack. She will remain, though, the director for Area D for the FVRD. McAhonick says she is, quote, looking at a new career direction. A spokesperson for the Transition Society says this change was actually made on July 23rd. The search is now on for a new executive director. Coming up, our update on the Othello Tunnels, and can the Huskers find a winning format? Alex will have more in sports. This week continues with Sarah Brown from Advantage Hope and, as we were joking off air, the never-ending saga of the Othello Tunnels. But they're open, and this was this past Monday.
Yes, the 19th.
How much stuff had to be moved? Do you have numbers yet? Because I know, and a tip of the hat to Kermode Moody of the Hope Standard. A couple of weeks ago, she published some photos, and looked like, correct me on this, was this mining equipment? I mean, this was a lot of stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of work that had to go on there to make the site stable. The Coquihalla River basically ran right through that park and caused a lot of erosion and damage to rockfall prevention measures inside the tunnels, as well as the structure of the bridges. And so that was a lot of the work, a lot of seismic work, rock scaling like you'd see on the highways, that kind of thing, to make sure that it's fully safe. Because obviously also as in 1914 when they were blowing it open with dynamite, they weren't necessarily considering pedestrian safety in 2024. So there's a lot of different considerations there. But they do have the first tunnel open currently and the trail leading to the second tunnel. And it's all accessible from the Tunnels Road entrance.
Now, there's one bridge, and I've seen pictures of it, but I guess it's still behind a construction fence?
It is, yeah.
And they're doing, is the bridge itself okay, or is it work around it, or?
It's work on the bridge. From what I understand, the structure of the bridge was damaged during the flooding because there was debris in the river that hit the legs of it. And I guess also debris from the tunnels wound up on the bridge. So there's a lot of structural reworking that needs to go into the bridge itself. And any work that needs to be done on the footings. The footings are in the river, and the river is a salmon run area. So while the salmon are running, there's not a lot of work going on in the river. So that's one of the reasons that we're open now there, is that some of that work has to be paused until the summer runs over.
Yeah, that's something I completely forgot about, or not even thought about, was the salmon run. The Chilcotin situation, did that really have an effect on the salmon run there, or is that too far away?
It does seem like there's fewer salmon because they are fighting against the debris that went further down the river.
Right.
But we are seeing some salmon in the Suckers Creek area where they spawn, and definitely a lot of hawks and that kind of thing, like circling around the river. So that's always a good sign, maybe a bad sign for the salmon, but
that's a good sign
for us of there's actually fish in the area. So
okay, tunnels 1 and 2 are open. The rest of the area, though, they're still clearing things away, and it doesn't sound like it's going to open anytime soon.
That's what it sounds like. There's a lot of washouts on the Nicola Trail, so that section where it kind of goes over there is still closed. There's a portion of the KVR trail that starts where Thacker Regional Park is and goes past the graveyard there. Would normally come into the tunnels from the back. And that trail is open, but it's blocked off at the tunnel because of the bridge. So you can't actually access the tunnels that way. But if you wanted to do like a nice railway trail walk along the river, that is reopened.
And KVR, for those who don't know, is?
Kettle Valley Railway.
A good chunk of BC history. Wink, wink. Anything else we should know about? I know that there's a shuttle going on. And that's because parking is almost non-existent right now?
Yes, so the only parking, because of the place where it's closed for the bridge, the only way to access the tunnel currently is from the Tunnels Road parking lot. And that parking lot is not especially large. So we do recommend for visitors that are coming to, if they can come at an off time, like really early in the morning or after dinner, that's probably better. It's easier to get a spot parked. This Saturday, we are operating a shuttle from the Visitor Centre. It's leaving at 10:15, noon, and 1:30 from the Visitor Centre. It lets you spend 45 minutes at the park and then returns you to the Visitor Centre. There's not an official cost for it. It's by donation. The donations are going towards the repair of the station house building.
The rest of Coquihalla Provincial Park, is it open? Is it still being reclaimed?
The park is officially open according to the park's website, but most of the trails are still closed because of flood damage.
Okay, and always check with them too. And again, I guess you go to your social media to find out what's the latest.
Yeah, and the BC Parks website for the Coquihalla Canyon Provincial Park, there's a little status thing at the top that you can open up menus, and it has a description of exactly what portions of the park are accessible, as well as the little brochure that's got some history of the railway and that sort of thing.
There has been criticism of BC Park said this, Advantage Hope's here, the District of Hope, but when it comes to something this scale, I guess you really had to one day at a time?
Yeah, this is
get information
a
out, yeah.
huge project for the people working in the tunnel as well, like doing the repair. And that's what we understood. They were expecting to be able to reopen mid-July. And then the anchors for the rockfall netting were damaged way worse than they thought. So those all had to be replaced.
Okay.
And everything was pushed forward a little bit, but we do want everybody to be safe in the tunnels as well if they're visiting. So it was, we were kind of disappointed at the park, and there was a lot of misunderstandings where unfortunately people were arriving at the park and the repair workers were having to turn them away. But now we're in a position where everybody's safe and they can go there, so we're really pleased about that. And obviously that's a big draw for Hope.
Right.
That typically in a regular year where nothing else is going on, there's about 80,000 people a year that visit that park.
Right.
And it's only open for about 4 months. So that's a lot of people in a pretty short time period. And we do typically have, in a regular year when stuff's not going on, we have summer students out there directing people into Hope to, have lunch or whatever, and that helps the economy of Hope. So we have seen, an effect to it not being open. And at the visitor center, at least, we're getting phone calls a lot of people checking to make sure before they come, because it's been pushed forward a couple times.
Yeah.
So we're seeing the interest is definitely still there, because you kind of wonder, when it's been a few years, it's like, does anybody care about it anymore?
Still do.
But they still do, and we're really excited to be able to re-welcome people to that park.
And shifting gears just a little bit, Hope Brigade Days is coming up.
It is, yes.
And that's is that the Labor Day long weekend?
It's the weekend after.
Weekend after. Because a lot of people ask about not only the food trucks and everything else, but the demo derby. So
Yes, that's the demo derby is going on, and the band, the headline band this year is Trooper. So we've got a lot of calls from people wanting to see Trooper, and that's. You just need a wristband for that, so it's probably the cheapest tickets for Trooper you're ever going to get. So if you want to do that, you can go on the Brigade Days website, and that'll get you all the information.
Sarah Brown, Advantage Hope. It's been a busy couple of weeks. Thanks again for coming in.
Thank you.
And you're watching This Week.
Hey Chilliwack, let's talk some sports. Win one, lose one, repeat. That's been the season's story for the Valley Huskers. The Saturday final at Exhibition Field in Chilliwack, the West Shore Rebels improved to 3-1, and the Huskers dropped to 2-2. West Shore had no trouble at all beating the home team 42-24. Huskers head coach Bob Reist said his team lost their composure in the second half. We let them get under our skin, and we have to be more disciplined. Next up, August 24th, the Huskers travel to McLeod Stadium to play the Langley Rams and the 3rd annual Cascade Cup for Valley football bragging rights. Sardis Falcons and GW Graham have started their high school football training camps, and you can follow along. Both are very active on social media. Kieran Nopin and Jason Feiss were standout performers for the BC Bandits U22 team at the Alberta Indigenous Games, leading the scoring with remarkable skill and determination. Both grade 12 students this year, Kieran attends Sardis Secondary School and Jason is at GW Graham. As alumni of the Chilliwack Mustangs, they have dedicated countless hours giving back to their home association, coaching U11, U15, and U17 box lacrosse teams, and serving as referees. This Saturday is Family Day at Agassiz Speedway. Racing will feature the Midgets, Hornets, Minis, Sprint, and Street Racing class. Gates open at 3:30 with racing starting at 6. Now coming up, Cari with the weather.
chillTV weekend weather. So Cari, are we looking at a pretty decent weekend or a fairly decent weekend?
Hey friends, our weather this weekend is going to be rain. Good chance Friday and Saturday, and a moderate chance on Sunday, and temperatures are going to be in the low 20s, not even to the mid. But next week, come Wednesday, we're going to have one last surge of summer, and it's going to be nice and sunny for the long weekend. Here's a fun fact for you. I know I said I wasn't going to say any more Olympic facts, but this one's too good not to share. Tug of war used to be an Olympic event. I'd pay money to watch that. Have a great weekend, everybody. Back to you, Don.
Thanks, Cari, and thank you for watching. If you have a local news story you'd like us to report on, you can always send us a note to news@chilltv.ca. Thanks for watching and have yourself a great weekend. I'm Don Lehn.